So on my mind, well, Sugar, she's having some sort of, I don't know, she kind of has like, I think she has a UTI. She has a little stuff going on. I have to send in a urine sample to her vet. So my mind's kind of with Sugar, but she's doing fine. She's acting normal. She just is a little, like, she just had a little redness, and I noticed it yesterday, and I was like, oh, I wish I would have noticed sooner. But but yeah. Then what else? Other than that, I don't know. I've been feeling really grateful today too. I got another sale, my Etsy store. Yeah. So I'm officially at a profit with it. It's at 2 cents. But hey. It's, it's a little bit. It's like it's there.
Yes.
It'll come in. Yeah. Because the first time someone bought something from me, I didn't have the prices at a spot where I would make a little bit of profit from it. I had it to where like I had a loss with it. So I had to up my prices and do all that. So now I'm broken even. So I'm like, yes, more.
Which is funny because that is the book I am reading right now. It is Money Making Badass. I think that's what it's called. It's awesome. I love it. Because again, I feel that we have such a distance from money, and we have to tap into that energy because it is an energy. It's a frequency. And our whole lives, we've been taught to fear this frequency and fear manifesting it and fear all that comes with that. And this is so awesome because it's about being mindful about money and how our beliefs on it and going deeper. Like, why do you want that money? What are you going to do with that money? And keep going back to thinking that way and not thinking, like, money is the root of all evil. Right? Because I always thought that, especially when it came to, people that do have money, who are rich. It's like, I don't like how you're spending your money, though. Granted, it's your money, but I felt that if I got to that level, I'd be just like them. But I don't have to be. I had someone, as I was reading this book at the hotel the other day, one of the guests came in and was like, oh, what are you reading? And I told him, and he was like, oh, there was like this profound thing that someone said to me 30 years, like a long time ago, probably like 60 years now. But he said, in 30 years, I didn't know how much of an impact it had on me until 30 years later. And he said, there is a difference between being wealthy and being rich. And I was like,
yeah, a huge difference.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
We just had that conversation not too long ago with the Law of Being about wealth.
Yeah.
And
we were going through the Wealth City. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good topic we can start on, just money.
Honestly, I already wrote down money manifestation because that's what it really comes down to.
Yeah.
We have all been programmed in different ways. Something I grew up in Russia for my first 13 years of my life. So in Russia, there's a lot of people who are very superstitious. Very superstitious. So there's always like these talks of one that really stuck with me, because I don't want to go to all the superstitions. I just keep it, stick to the topic of money. So one of the superstitions that I was shared with as a child stuck with me so deeply that now I am trying to reprogram it. And that is this. Do not wipe breadcrumbs or crumbs off the table with your hand, because you're going to be poor. That's an indication that you're poor and that you don't have any money. So that's why you use your hands to clean.
I've never heard that. That's interesting.
This is just, in the Russian borders. So if anybody who has heard this and is from Russia, I feel your pain, or anywhere, doesn't matter where you're from, I feel your pain. Because like, if you really think about it, like in a way, it makes sense that, oh, what, you can't afford a rag, that's why you gotta clean with your hand. But at the same time, No, you got to appreciate all the little crumbs. Bethany, I want to celebrate your 2 cents of profit. Those are breadcrumbs.
Yes.
How do you make bread? Or what are breadcrumbs
Yeah.
from? They come from a piece of bread, a big loaf of bread most of the time, right? How do you make $1? With 1 penny at a time, right? How do you make $1 million? The same way you make $1. How do you make 2 million? The same way you make or earn $1 million and $1, right?
Yeah.
It's from little breadcrumbs. And if we don't appreciate the breadcrumbs and we'll look at them as this is trash, this is going to make me poor, I don't want the pennies, guess what the pennies are going to say? You don't want me, I don't want you. Which means you ain't getting $1, you ain't getting $1 million, you ain't getting 2, you're not getting anything. You got to appreciate the pennies.
You know, it's interesting that you say that about pennies, because when I was growing up, I used to not like pennies. I would throw away pennies. And I would just like, oh, I don't want any pennies. And this was like going into my young adulthood. And then once I found appreciation for it, where it was like, well, this penny makes, you know, so many, it makes $1. And that makes, you know, like you're saying, like it goes on and on. And I kind of put that 2 and 2 together, because back then I had my money story was like really poor, and I just, you know, poor me, like, oh, I'm never going to have everything I want and need, like I'm always going to hit these walls with money. But now, you know, I appreciate all the little bit, like the 2 cents that I made in profit. Like I'm ecstatic. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is the best thing. Like, hell yeah. Thank you, universe. Like, I'm so grateful for it. But in the past, I would have been like, oh, 2 pennies. Like, ew, like, I don't want that, you know, like, so it's interesting that you said that. Thanks for bringing that up.
Are you
That
welcome?
was
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah. No, like one thing that you kind of said, I heard you talk about, you know, wants and needs. And I'd be curious to hear when you ladies speak of money or think of money, do you see money as want or need?
I think more of it as a desire, I guess. Like I desire to have it. I desire to have that energetic exchange. But, you know, like it's not so much of a need as like in the past, it would have been like, oh my gosh, I need this in order to, you know, have what, you know, have my needs met, you know, have those daily things. But now it's like, I just trust the whole energetic transfer, and I know that my desires are going to come to me, and I'm going to have everything I desire in abundance.
Yeah. Like that. I would say I definitely need it because I want to attract it, right? And I do need it. I mean, we need it to literally do everything on this planet, which is still crazy to me, but that's okay. It's a whole nother topic.
The only species that exchange our services and our energy through a physical object, which seems to be digital.
And again, I totally understand why we got into this, right? Because again, when people bartered, it was like, hey, I'm going to do this for you and I'll give you this. And it's really hard to, you know, walk around with chickens and just be like, hey, who wants a chicken? You know, like it's just not feasible.
No.
So we had to come up with this system. However, when we look at this system, we always see lack, right? There's not enough for everyone, you know. Sorry. And, you know, so it's saying that we need to do this differently. We need to look at it as, because money it's abundance everywhere. Mm-hmm. And we have to stop thinking that, you know, we can't access that power and access that frequency because we started down here. Right? Well, yes, and they want you to stay down there, but we have to rise above it and say, wait, there is enough money for everyone to be abundant. And that too, right? When we're creating a business, it's hard to be like, oh, I want money for, but you're giving, and this is a different exchange that you are doing. So it's shifting our mindset to looking at money in a completely different way. And it's hard. It's really hard to like switch it when all this time we've been taught to pretty much hate money, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I think a lot of people will agree with that. That we have been given a program since before we were 7 years old, because this is when most of our personalities, most of who we are, is formed by the age of 7, right? And if we are living in a castle, money is never ever a problem. It's not something that people that living in the castle have to deal with, for the most part, right? So it just comes to them. They can have anything they want. They can do anything they want. They have never been given a program of, we can't afford that. We don't have space for it. We don't have money for it, right? Or not right now, which also comes, I can't afford it right now, which comes from a place of, I don't have the money to pay for it, which is an energetic exchange that we have with this physical object like money.
Yeah.
So this program, it has been given to us from a young age. And then as we grow and go into adulthood, we have now friends who are carrying the same stories, and we attract the same kind of energy. So then our friends have different ways of how they are reminding us of our money story, and then, or how they might also add to it as well. Right. It's more like of an addition that we go as we age. And then we're watching movies, we're watching shows that confirms our money story or adds to the money story. And if you watch enough and you expose yourself to enough of it, then I'd be curious to hear what kind of a money story you would end up with, and how does one break through it and is able to manifest enough richness and wealth in their life, because they are different. You can be wealthy, right? And you can be rich, or you can be wealthy and rich, and you can be rich and wealthy, right? So anyways, there's like a bunch of different mazes. We can touch base on that later, but I'm curious to hear, what were your money stories that had been given to you throughout your lifetime?
A money story for me, and as I go through and how I've like kind of worked through some of my money stories, I tend to like kind of like forget about the past, and I like don't, because I don't focus on it anymore. So like a lot of the money story for me was, that there's not enough, that there will never, that we, it's that yeah, it's just that there's not enough for all of us. Like, I'm not going to have my needs met. That I have to, you have to work hard, or you got to save in order to have the things that you desire. And, and sometimes that's correct, like, yeah, you gotta save sometimes when you want those big ticket items. But I noticed as I like fixed, as I shifted my money story and fixed it to where I want it, I just feel like just abundance just comes, it just flows towards me, because I'm not thinking of the things that are like holding me down. Because in my past money story, it would just bring up that block of, oh gosh, well now we don't have enough. Like, what are we going to do? Oh gosh. And then put like a standstill and like a wall, a block. But now when things happen, I'm like, an example would be like when we have a cancellation with a tattoo. In the past, I would have been more, we don't have enough. Like, what are we going to do? Like, we got bills to pay. And now when I see a cancellation, it's like, ooh, we get all this extra time to focus on our other stuff that we're doing in life, our other avenues that we've been working on. And, you know, we do have enough, because at the end of the month, when I look at everything, you know, it always, we have more than enough, or, you know, like, we have that abundance there. And so sometimes it's not with just, you know, money. Sometimes it's like with different things, like, you know, food in the fridge, or my plant medicine, or, you know, just pretty much everything. It's but yeah, so that was like the the roundabout, I guess. I don't know, I kind of lost my train of thought, but yeah, so that's kind of where my money store went to, and to where it's now, I guess.
What about you, Meagan?
I mean, kind of same as Bethany. I don't think that, again, I put a huge emphasis on money growing up. So I do believe, like, growing up, my mom always found a way. Like, if I wanted something, she's always figured it out. Like, even being a single mom working 3 jobs, like, if me and my brothers wanted something, we would usually get it. Always. There wasn't kind of a lack with the materialistic things. However, I do believe that it kind of came in with the lack of self-worth and like receiving the money that you deserve, right? Because I believe my mom worked so hard, but didn't quite value herself. And I don't want to say value herself, but like value her time to get money that she deserved. And I feel like I kind of picked that up, where I struggle sometimes, especially like negotiating if I'm getting a job and saying, hey, no, I'm worth this much and you're gonna pay me this. That is something I have struggled with. I've always found a way to, again, if I have needs or I want something, obviously traveling, I made it happen. I made it work. I had that mindset that it would all work out. And sometimes I don't even know where I would get this money to, you know, go, but it came to me. And I'm glad that I had that part good, but now it's this, my self-worth and my time and everything is very valuable, and I need to now, that's where I need to start going.
I sense that it would be quite similar to a lot of people, the money stories, because I personally have not met any parents that would tell their kids about their money and what they're going through, and, you know, how much they have, how much they don't. I myself have worked a job since I was 13, since I came here to Canada. And the reason for that is because, and this is where my money story really, really, really started. Because we're new in this country, don't have anything, lived in the basement, and, you know, there's not really much that we had, because if you wanted something, then you had to have money for it yourself, and you know, and buy it yourself. When I wanted a really nice pair of shoes, and I would ask my mom, and it would always be in the area where, like, or set in a way that we can't afford it, they're too expensive, they're $300. What do you think I would get that money? If you want them, go get a job and work, right? So what did I do? I got a job, I worked, and part of my paycheck I was always giving to my parents as well, helping them out, because I could hear and see the struggle. And a lot of immigrant families live that way, where they're in a way struggling in the beginning, but eventually they find a way to make a living, right, and make a life with what they make. But there's always that, you know, that money story in there. So the question that pops into my mind for both of you ladies, and whoever wants to answer these questions as they're listening or watching, is this: how did your parents' money mindset story show through as you were growing up in your household surroundings?
Let's see here. I think the for me, the not having enough showed through, and I'm just grateful that I was able to work through it and get past it. But also like the manifesting and like having that prayer behind it, because like we talked about last week, we talked a little bit about, what I grew up with, and there was a lot of prayer. And I realized that when I'm manifesting, it's the same thing as prayer. So pretty much my whole life, we were always manifesting like, okay, well, this is gonna work out. We're not sure how, but it will happen. And that's something else I've carried through, which I've stuck with because it works and it's positive and it keeps me like in a good mindset about money. But the old, like, it's we don't have enough, because a lot of the times my parents would put their financial I guess burdens on me, and they would talk to me about it. And growing up, I'd get really stressed out, like, okay, like, well, how are we going to get this bill paid? And that's where I kind of saw like that we don't have enough as I became an adult. And yeah, so that was the big one. But I guess like there was a good point of it too, because I learned like with hard work and saving too, you can get anything, like it's limitless. So there's like, on both sides a little bit, which I'm grateful for, that whole like I'm not enough too, because I learned like I do have enough as well. And if there's someone else I run into with that same mindset, since I worked through that, from personal experience, I could potentially help someone work through it as well. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I think it's funny because I feel like ours are kind of a little opposite from each other, because I mean, again, as a child, my mom never let us know if anything was wrong. So like I have no idea. We always in the fridge. Again, if we asked for something, we would get it. We always had a roof over our head. Like my mom always figured it out and never even let us in on it. But I will say the one thing like I appreciate that I did see is that my mom would go out of her way, I feel like, to go and ask for help, right? Like, and taking and receiving stuff, and not just like, and again, maybe this was like government assistance or, any of that. Don't know if we had it or not. I really don't. I believe we possibly probably did, but I don't feel like my mom ever had that mindset that we're any less just because we have it, but we do have, everything that we could have. Granted, again, when I started going to college, then I kind of obviously realized, that we weren't in this higher bracket of money making, which was totally okay. But I learned that I know nothing about finances. I know absolutely nothing. I don't know how financial aid works. I didn't know what interest rates were. I didn't know any of that. Do I still kind of? So yeah, and I feel that within me and my brothers, I feel like we all have very different mindsets about money, and yeah, I feel like we value it very differently for ourselves. And again, because I don't know if my mom actually, because I'm the youngest, so she could have, talked to my brothers, and they were in the position that if my mom, I feel, was struggling, that they were the ones obviously that she could go to and be like, hey, no, you're working, I need help, which I'm like, still in school and high school, so you can't really, so yeah, I think we definitely have very different perceptions of it. Because I know that I've never helped my mom out. Like I've never had to be in that position. But I do know that my brothers have been in that position, definitely, which, it's like a whole nother subject. So yeah, we just, that's, I feel like how it affected me. Couldn't say about my brothers. Again, even though we're in the same household, we're all going to perceive it completely different from each other.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because my sister and I, we do have a different money story. And my parents also have a different money story right now as well. And one of the things that I would say that I've noticed through conversations with people about money is because the question I was asking is like, how does that show up in your household as you're growing up? And one of the things that I've noticed a common theme with is difficulty with letting go of things, which means that house would have a lot of stuff, right? A lot of clutter. Some people even would say that their parents were hoarders because they would keep everything and anything, like even boxes, tins and cans and everything. So I wanted to put that out there because when I look back at my house, like how my house was growing up, we did have a lot of things. We did have a lot of things and we held on to things. I've worked through that where I do not attach myself to objects, to physical objects anymore because I've learned the reasoning behind it. And if I'm holding on to something, and I'm not holding on to the object, I'm holding on to the memory that the object has created. And I don't need that object to remind me of that memory because most of the time it would be just boxed up in a box, put away somewhere safely, nicely, that I never would go and look at it. So for something important, I would then keep it in front of me all the time, right? Show it as it is valuable. Yeah. So I'm curious, like, what else do you ladies? You know what? Honestly, I think maybe this is time to just hop on to the other side of, well, how do you now shift and work through these money stories to open up the doors to manifestation?
Well, I say the first thing that Bethany said on here was being grateful for even the tiniest thing. Even today, I was walking to my car from the grocery store and there was a dime on the ground and I didn't pick it up, but I was grateful for it. I was like, look, money is coming to me in every form. I'm grateful for you. I will leave you for the next person because there was someone walking behind me, so I didn't want to stop them and them run into me. So I was like, okay, no, it's okay. But look at that, money is all around us. I think again, shifting our perspective and being mindful of money and how our thoughts are going, and if they go to a negative place, switching them. Right? That's all about life coaching. It's no different with money as well, as tapping into that frequency of abundance and again, finding your why. Why do you want this money? Why? Write it out. What is it going to fulfill? Is it so you can, do more charity work? Is it so you can take care of your family? Is it, figure out your why and sit with that why. Sit with that why every single day and realize, that it is going to come. And then, but again, it's also about doing, right? So the universe will gift us with stuff, but we have to be actively participating in that. We can't just sit in the backside and just be like, oh yeah, money's going to flow to me. I'm just going to sit on my couch. I mean, cool. If maybe you're an investor or something, then great. However, for if you want a successful business, well, you need to be a successful person, which means you need to be doing. No successful person has ever gotten their riches by just sitting on their couch watching TV. Maybe one person, maybe. I
don't know anyone.
Very few people have done that, okay? For for the majority of us, though. It's shifting our reality, shifting the way we think. And it's hard because, again, we've been programmed for so long to hate money, to fear money, to just have this really bad relationship with money. And now, just like any relationship, we need to mend that relationship. We need to talk to that relationship. We need to communicate with it and accept it for what it is. And transform it into something different, have a new relationship with it. And it can be hard at times, but just like be grateful for everything given to you. And even that, just like this is money, right? We are exchanging so much value within each other that is money, and being grateful and saying this is a different type of currency that we are exchanging.
Yeah. I like how you
Sure.
say relationship, because it is a relationship. And if you show up negatively in your relationship, you're going to have a negative relationship. If you look at your partner and you see your partner as the worst thing in the world, and you have stores attached to your partner, and every time you look at your partner and you have a story replaying there, whether it's conscious or unconscious, it's going to affect that relationship. That energetic flow will stop. And guess what? Your partner is going to say, I don't need you. I'm going to go find someone else who will appreciate me for what I am and for who I am. That's your money walking away from you. So when it comes to a relationship, it's important to sit down and identify those blocks. With money, sit down and identify what are those stories that are replaying in your mind over and over again, and how are they showing up? How are these blocks, how are these stories, how are these assumptions, limiting beliefs are showing up in your day-to-day life that are preventing that energetic exchange that you actually do want, but unaware of those, those logs that are stopping the water from flowing, right? Like the beaver that put them down, and now you gotta move them yourself. So, and then once you identify them, rewrite them. I know it sounds easier than it is, because it does sound easier than it is. Identifying them is one step, and it has its own challenges. And then now rewriting them and looking at them in a different way after you've questioned the validity of each one. Because you gotta identify, question, rewrite. That's pretty much the process of how you change the money stories that are not benefiting you anymore. And one of the places that I would suggest starting is when you go and spend money, when you go and buy something, what are the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that go through your mind, through your body? Because if there's nothing in your mind, your body is speaking, and it's saying something so loudly. That would be a perfect place to start. Because if you are not in a grateful place when you're spending, then you're really saying, I don't want you, right? I don't have you, I don't want you. And the partner is going to say, that's fine. I know I don't feel loved, I don't feel wanted. I will still be here for you on the side when you do want me. So when you want me, call me back, and I'll come right back and I'll look at my tail. I feel like that is one of the things that I know that's one of the things that I have done myself, and it has made a tremendous difference for me. And there are still moments, I'll back it up a little bit. When I used to go and spend money, I used to be anxious. And then it turned into sometimes a panic attack, just waiting for that number to show how much it's going to cost me. And then as I started to work on myself, that's where I started. In the place where it hurt me the most, when it was leaving me and I had to give it away and fear that I would never see it again. Like And are those thoughts realistic? No, they're not. But to me, they were very, very real and they hurt me. Where did they come from? I didn't need to know. I didn't care to know where they came from. I just needed to know what they were. And okay, well, how true is that really? Not at all. So then what do I want instead? Because our thoughts are our choices. Like how we think is a choice, whether it's a conscious one or a subconscious one, it's still a choice. And in order to change those thoughts, we got to choose the ones that we want and continue to choose them until they stick. Until they stick. Because it takes time sometimes for that new thought to actually stick and stay with us. Because it's a program that we gotta now rewrite and reprogram, and it's not gonna happen like that, right? It will continue to need a little bit of attention, a lot of attention, a little bit less, to a place where it won't need any attention, and you will just be in the place of manifesting and never having any kind of worry, doubt, or fear that you're not going to get any. So when you are in that place, you will not hesitate to give.
Yeah. And then for me, so how I've done it, like kind of shifted my money story was like gratitude. That was a huge one. You know, every time I spent money, being like, oh, I'm so grateful for having this abundance to be able to buy this and be able to spend, but also giving. I noticed, like with my positive poetry, like I give it away for free. Like you could take my poem off of the internet, you could print that out and you could put it on your refrigerator if you wanted to. Like I don't have like a copyright on it. You could take my poem if you really wanted to and say it's yours. Like I don't really like have like any kind of like, oh my gosh, like don't do that. Like I feel like giving when I've had too much of something, just being able to like hear with our tattooing, Brian does giveaways. So I feel like giving really opened the door to receive. And then also challenging, like what you were saying, Yana, with the money stories as they come up, like identifying like where it came from. Like, is it real? Is it true? Like, is it really true? Or are you just having a little moment here where you need to have a little tension too, because you got to block, you got to work through. Those are like the big things that help me shift my money story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, ladies.
Yeah,
I feel like it's, as we're getting close to the end of the hour, I feel like it's important to leave on a high note, because we started on a high note, sharing and talking about money manifestation, and then sharing the stories and the blocks that we carry and that we're given to us, and we continue to carry this luggage, and then how it might show up in our parents and in us. And then, well, then great, now what do we do, right? And giving a few tips of what can we all do right now, right? I'm not saying to jump on and do everything, but pick one place you want to start, however little or small, right? So in closing, anybody else wants to add anything or has any last words to say? Speaking out. I
feel like, like money is just like we've talked about, it's an energetic exchange. There's so much out there that it's just like wanting us to call to it. It wants us to go after it. And like, as I used to do when I was younger, I would totally shun it out when there'd be a penny on the ground, or I'd get like 4 pennies back for change. I'd be like, oh, I don't want that. And I would throw it away. Like I literally would throw it away. And having that realization, like, oh my gosh, like I would throw away money, like, and I wasn't grateful for it ever. It's, it's just those little things, those little tiny moments, and having that gratitude for it. Like with the 2 cents I got, like, oh my gosh, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, like I was like jumping around, like, holy crap. And I think it's your mentality too on it. And when you give, you receive as well.
Yeah.
I like that. That was good.
Yeah.
I would just say that, energy is an exchange, and energy, yes, it is. I'm not where I was going with that. Money is energy, which we exchange. I was missing a few words in there.
Yeah.
But with that, again, like I said, it's not just about physical money that we are manifesting, because, cool, getting a free workshop or, a free lesson from someone, those are money that is being given to you. And be there fully, presently, and gain what is being given to you, the opportunities that are around you that will lead you to your goals. Like, let's say someone says, hey, I want to be your mentor and show you the ropes. Take that opportunity. That is also money. That's abundance. That is you gaining knowledge and wisdom and learning to flow and seeing, hey, wait, what's your energy exchange with money? How do you work with this? And find those people that are where you want to be and start researching about them. Start seeing how they did it and watch videos on them. There's so much out there that we shouldn't think to ourselves that we can't have it, because so many people have had it and we can too.
Yeah. And there's so many people that have it and don't need to go out there and brag about it. Like, they're very humble, and you wouldn't even know that they have more and more than enough money, because they are just living a normal life and they're dressing like a normal person. I mean, define normal, right? But that you would be able to tell by just looking at them. Working at the bank, I got to meet quite a few people, and you see one person in front of you and you look at the account, like, why aren't you like wearing this big gold bling and wearing clothes that doesn't have holes? So you know what I mean? I'm like, okay. But that's where I learned that if you judge people based on their appearance and money, you're judging, and you're also talking to money.
Resisting it. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, oh, why would you look like that, right? You have all this money and you choose to look like that. Like, what does that say, right? I like to close and say that money is love, and it just wants to be loved. So if you don't love it, it's still going to love you back, and that's why it won't fully leave you, but it wants love. And as we all talked about giving money, right? I want to, I guess, clarify it, because if we give from a place of giving, that is when we will receive. But if we give from a place of wanting to receive, the intention behind it, then we're not going to get anything. So in order for that to happen, it does require work, and it's an energetic shift. Just changing your mind and your thoughts is not enough, because your body knows when you're trying to lie. There's the resistance that the body goes through. I know it. I felt, I'm like, ooh, this is not comfortable. It knows that I'm lying to it. So what can I say that will make my body believe, or help my body believe, that that is what I want, until I believe that that is what I have, right? So that's it. I feel like we've all spoken our piece.
Yeah.
About money, and we all want it. We all need it.
We all are accepting it.
Yes. And sometimes it requires a little bit of work, because not all of us were born with a silver spoon. And those that were, they still want to know what it's like on the other side. Buddha is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Right? So that's it.
That's true.
I'm just gonna leave it there. So thank you, ladies, for sharing yourselves, sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your experiences, your stories, your brilliant, magnificent minds with everyone. I can't wait to see what we have in store for everyone next week.
Yeah. And I'm
Thank
grateful
you,
for all
Yana.
you. Oh,
Yes.
sorry, I interrupted you.
I think we were both thanking Yana at the same time. It's coming to you. All the love is coming to you.
Thank you. And sometimes it used to be uncomfortable to receive that love and those compliments, and if you block
But I
them,
appreciate you,
you're gonna start
ladies.
receiving
I love our.
Yeah, my internet is like freezes once in a while.
Well, thank you, Bethany, as well. I always love having you here.
Oh, it happens. But yeah, you're welcome.
Awesome.
All right. Have a beautiful day, ladies.
You too,
Yes.
ladies. Enjoy the rest of it. I know Meagan has longer day left than us. we get up earlier than you. Anyways,
True.
much love to all of you and everyone who is listening or watching. And until next time, bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.